Hello everyone, and welcome to Channel Business Podcast with Hanne. Channel Business Podcast is all about sharing ideas, insights, and valuable tips from leaders around the world who have been rising through the struggles to where they are now. The podcast episodes will teach you about different things, what you can take in your daily life as a leader to take things forward from one step to another. We will talk about all facets of life. What are the essential steps for you to take the business forward? I'm your Channel Business Podcast host, Hanne, a global business influencer, taking you to this growth ride of Channel Business episodes. So with all my heart, I want to welcome you to the growth ride of the Channel Business Podcast episodes, where we are diving in today with Chuen Chuen Yeo from Singapore, and we will talk about agile leadership. Chuen Chuen Yeo is a multi-award winning executive coach who helps leaders excel and succeed by growing the agile mindset. As an established and creative adult learning expert, Chuen Chuen tailors learning experiences specific to each client's needs. She's committed to help clients thrive whether they are working in executive presence, influence, negotiations, or stakeholder engagement. She's named one of the 101 top global coaching leaders and a woman super achiever at 28th World HRD Congress. Satisfies clients describe the coaching experience with her a transformational, life-changing, and the only professional development a leader ever needs. So I'm really happy to welcome you, Chuen Chuen Yeo, to be on this podcast and episode to talk about agile leadership. And on top of this, I want to mention also that you're a founder of this ACESENCE company. Did I pronounce that one right?
ACESENCE. Agile. Yeah, yes. ACESENCE Agile Leadership.
So welcome, Chuen. I'm really excited to have you here. And as you work across the world and with nearly 40 different nationalities and different countries and Fortune 500 companies, you have amazing experiences working with different kind of leaders. So I wish to hear and share these kind of experiences to the leaders with you, that what can you bring to the table for them to learn more and be the agile leaderships?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward. Super exciting.
Yes, me too. So let's dive into those questions and agile leadership. But tell us first, what fascinates you about life?
I think life's a journey, and I think that in itself is fascinating. That we are with the experiences that we accumulated with the experiences that we can accumulate this lifetime, made possible by technology, we can really reach every person in the world. And I think all these really enriches our mindsets, our learning, and that we couple with our neuroplasticity really helps us learn and grow. So to me, I think especially the past few years, I have seen rapid growth, and every time that happens, it really fascinates me how transformational and how much each of us can actually grow, and lots of potential in all of us.
It is so sure. And I was just going to ask you, how do you see this last couple of years that we have been kind of locked down into our homes or offices and just being remotely using the help of the technology? We have kind of felt that the world has come together much more faster than it was ever before. And we have been able to reach out to people who we didn't have access before this. Kind of, it feels different. So yeah. I'm glad to hear that you share the same kind of experience in that. Could you tell us all something about what is that you are committed to and inspired to create in life?
I think at the foundation, it is about bringing out the best in people, and the targets group that I'm super passionate about will be leaders in every workplace. And it doesn't matter whether they are first-time managers or very seasoned veteran leaders, as long as you are a person who is there to make a positive difference and to influence others, then you are a leader, right? In my eyes. And how we then interact and engage in the workplace to build more synergistic, empowering relationships, to me, it makes a lot of difference. Now, the key thing is because we spend so much of our time in each of our lifetimes on work.
Yeah, it is so true. We spend so much time at the work and with the people there.
Yes.
So it's kind of truly essential to have a good workplace and good environment and a good influence there with them.
Correct. So the kind of relationships that we nurture at work really can impact a person's mental health, right? Or even your opinion about your own abilities, your belief in yourself. So to me, it all starts with the leaders, the kind of nurturing relationships that we can have that truly brings out the best in every one of us.
That is so right. I totally agree on that. And the little words, the little actions that we do daily, they really influence a lot. And we may not even notice that how many people or whom do we influence. So as a leader, it's so critical to pay attention to those kind of things.
True.
Yeah. What would you say your superpower is that you use every day at your work?
Every day. Well, because I connect with clients from nearly 40 countries, right? And across sectors, across different levels of seniority.
Yeah.
The one superpower that has served me well is really being able to see the connections between things that to them, where the connections are not easily picked up, right? So they will be probably sharing things about one conversation with one stakeholder and then the other. And there's always this unseen connection. And my superpower then, when I reflect it back to them, that I see this connection, to them it always becomes enlightening, because then they realize that there is a pattern. And once we see patterns, it's that easy for us to overcome whatever challenges or anything that's bugging us. So I think that's one that I always use every day.
Oh, I like that because it is not easy for everyone to build those connections or to see or even think about, let's say, outside of the box, who could be the good partner, good stakeholder, good employee for you, or a good mentor, or whatever you need at the time. So that is a gem over there to be able to see all that.
Yeah. And the connection also happens within the timeline, like past, present, future, the connection between events, connections between people, connection between your thoughts and your behavior. So it is, I think, bring out to them all these abstract connections that is not easily seen with the naked eye, and helping them understand the relationship between events and time.
That is so right. And that is something that I think many people and even many leaders don't realize all the time that it is there, and it has all these three different stages: past, present, and future. And you need to, as a leader, influence all of those.
Yeah, that's right.
So one thing what you wish that you knew at the earliest stage of your career, what would that be?
Early stage of my career, I wish I knew what success meant to me as a person. I think like many young adults who first join the workforce, we devote ourselves to climbing the career ladder or the corporate ladder, and that we see external things like your promotion, your job title, your pay package as indication of whether you are successful or not, or important person in society or not. It took me quite a few years to realize that, this is what everybody else is doing. Everybody's chasing after something, but that doesn't make me successful, because you will find that when you reach a certain milestone and you find emptiness internally, and I think that is that great greatest moment of epiphany for many, many adults who realize what they are chasing is not what they really want. And then to question back, what does success mean to you as a human being? What is the legacy you want to leave behind for people? But that's one thing I wanted to, I think if I had known it earlier, it would have been better. A lot more of the abundance mindset, much lesser of the scarcity mindset, which then I think will accelerate my growth further.
Do you think that is a growth path that everybody kind of has to go through that in order to understand what the success means and the happiness means to you as a person and as a leader?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Fast forward that some way. Can you have a fast track to understand it?
You probably wouldn't be able to reach another level of consciousness and maturity as an adult unless you had tasted the bitterness of failure.
Yeah.
Right? Or the kind of pain in your life. I think pain shapes a person. Right? It does. It does. And can I shortcut that process? I think that's a great question. Like, I have 3 sons. Would they be able to get to that level of consciousness and understanding and have that, pursuit of their best self, reach self-actualization stage without the early trials in life? Probably not. Probably there's a way to make it faster. Of course, I think saying you have mentors, you have coaches is definitely faster. In my work, I've seen how some professionals who maybe have many years of experience, but they are still caught in that cycle where they are chasing for something that
it doesn't serve them.
It doesn't serve them. Yes, exactly. Right. So probably not a function of age. When I think back, I think would I have wanted to grow faster? Probably, but was there a way to make it faster? I think to your point, probably not. It was necessary to go through that painful period.
Yeah, yes, and maybe something what I have learned, and what you mentioned also there is the bitterness of the failures. That if you fail fast, then maybe that is something that you can fast forward to track a little bit with the mentors and coaches, like you said.
Yes,
but you kind of have to go through that path in order to understand.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I think what we need to fail fast and we need to learn fast.
Yes.
A lot of what gets people stuck is that they fail, but they have not learned.
And then there's the learning curve. So you don't really go forward. You stay in one place. And that's not an agile leader, as
not at all.
Have it in today's topic. You have written books and guidebooks for leaders to be the agile leadership's roles and be the agile leader. And you have named the 5 inner voices of leadership. Could you tell us a little bit more of those? What are they and how do they vary from one another?
Sure. So the book I had talks about paradoxes. So that one is really deconstructing what are the various styles leaders can have to lead and connect with the workforce. So I talk about like opposing ends. There's a right style for the right context. So that's the paradoxes. And underlying, then there will be the 5 inner voices, which act as lenses for leaders to consider how should they switch their style. So the 5 inner voices will be the captain, the visionary, the developer, strategist, and agilist. So each of them bring a different discipline to the agile leader. So think of it as, well, if let's say I am stuck in a certain style that doesn't work for the organization anymore. I think one of the most common paradoxes that people face at the early stage of career probably would be people versus tasks. Should my style be more nurturing or should I be very results oriented? But what causes someone to get stuck in a style is different. It could be personal mastery. Maybe it is about my understanding of what makes me successful, which then we can rely on the captain to give us more insights. It could also be about how do I help my team members learn and what is my role here as their leader. Then that's where you can tap into the developer to decide how can I use tasks to help my people grow and achieve results at the same time. So whatever that voice is, all is helping leaders to do is to discern how do I shift the style, which style works for my people, and setting up the right feedback loop so that people can try out new strategies, get some feedback, and then refine the strategy after that. Because it is a continuous cycle of trying something, watching out for the feedback, and making your style better and better, more and more relevant.
Being in the current situation, what works for that situation.
Correct.
So in one of your guidebooks, which is as this Agile Leadership Journal that I have, and you have these little tasks. I don't know if you can see that in the audience, but you have these 5 different inner voices there, and then you have you ask here for the person to write a score between 1 and 10. Which one of these 5 different inner voices you think you are, and which one you wish to develop at this week or this time or this current situation, whatever you're facing. So I think that is a very concrete thing. Look at the situation and build the mindset and your habits and traits a little differently, and to see what actually works and what doesn't.
Yes. I think being self-directed is really important. Because a lot of agile leadership for me is about being authentic to your style, your values, but at the same time not being stubborn. Because I can be authentic and adaptive, or I can be authentic and stubborn.
Oh, that's true.
Well, very dangerous, right? And it's just a fine line separating these two. So self-awareness is important. At the same time, we want to benchmark that with how others see you. That's where the journal comes in. As you assess yourself, for example, if you assess yourself to be very high as a visionary, then you put yourself 8 out of 10. And then one of the paradoxes that maybe pop up for you is that people don't buy into the vision. People are not aligned. People are doing things that are antagonistic to the overall goal. Then the question is my score of 8 out of 10, is it a reasonable score? Or
that's right.
In fact, it's lower. And then what should I do? What can I do now to raise the score of my visionary so that the outcome I will see is that you get greater alignment, much more efficient, much less of those trying to go back and correct things that people have done, which then wastes time. And that, I think that also helps the strategists, because we need to look out for the signs really quickly and think about how we can achieve the results quicker with as little resources as possible, because working harder is not possible. We need to work smarter.
I love that. That is amazing. And there's a gem. There's a really, really big gem in there. Not to work harder, which was the let's say old times, many decades ago, that was the thing and the thought that you think that this is the way for me to get results, get successful. But in today's world, it really is to work smarter with less effort.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah. And I believe that there are many ways of doing that, but you just have to find the ones that works for you and for your organization.
Yes. And that's where the authenticity comes in.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that. So how would you define an agile leader, and who is an agile leader?
I think first, if you look at the agile leader from the inside, from the outside, from the inside, from the leader's perspective, they must definitely feel at ease, to have inner peace. You know, it's almost like you have a clear conscience that whatever you are doing now, it is your best possible effort, and that whichever the outcome goes, it could be good, it could be bad, I am at peace with it, because I know this is not an end point. This is part of the journey. I will take it as a learning experience and just get better every single time, right? But at the same time, because I've done my due diligence, there's the inner peace, clear conscience. And from the outside, I think it is what people usually describe the agile leaders as they are self-assured because they are driven by the internal values. They are not doing something to win someone's approval, right? They are probably humble because they seek feedback from others. They don't self-profess that they know everything. So they are always tapping on and leveraging the talents in their own pool. So I think they are humble. They are self-assured enough to be vulnerable. They are consultative, and they don't force people to move in a certain way. So I think that's where the mutual respect comes in. Whichever words we want to use to describe the agile leader, to me, I think internally most important is the inner peace, that you feel that you are able to adapt no matter how volatile the world has become. And for the followers or the rest of the ecosystem, I think being credible, the agile leader needs to be credible and responsive as well to the changes in the environment. Yeah, then they know that this person, I can always trust on the agile leader's good judgment and make the best course correction that the situation requires.
Oh my gosh, there's so many amazing things what you said, and there's so much to take in that and so many things to remember. But if you work in the alignment of your own values, your authenticity and just be yourself in every situation and influence on others and co-create the things as leaders should co-create things with others. So then there's a path, there's a thing for you to go forward. If we dive deeper into this topic of leadership, as it's changing rapidly, and as you mentioned, you need to be trustworthy, adaptable, transformative, and make the decisions very quickly, and be positive no matter what happens. What would you say are the essential things of channel and business forward, besides being this agile leader?
I think we need to really look at the relationship between work and life, career and success, and question the why behind everything that we do. It's no longer about working hard, right, or gaining many trophies. We need to look at ourselves as citizens in an ecosystem. And what do I really want to co-create with my partners, or collaborators, in that big system together? Because at the end of the day, I think hard work is unavoidable, but we want to make sure that the hard work is worth something.
That's right.
Is it worth it at the end of the day? Are we creating something that has everlasting value? Would I truly have lived a life? Or am I working so hard to the point where my life is not livable at all, right? Because I'm physically depleted. So I think questioning the effort, what is all that for? Is it worth it? I think that's very important. A business cannot be successful if your people are not engaged, nor if they are not happy or healthy. Right. So I think businesses now have a bigger role to play. It's no longer just about profit. It's about how do you create that sustainable life together, sustainable lifestyle together.
And this holistic, sustainable lifestyle, like you mentioned, that you have to take, or you need to take all these different, let's say, parts of life under consideration and find the balance over there. So why these agile leaders and the agile leadership is so needed to today's business? You kind of answered that already, but can you add something more there? Why do we need these kind of special leaders?
Right. Well, one of the things I talk about a lot in agile leadership is that we need to be human-centered. We need to bring the humans back into the workplace.
Yeah, because we are not robots, so we are just
not
working.
Yes, exactly. So I think conversations like separate your work problems from your home problems. Don't bring your personal life issues into the office. I think conversations like that don't serve any purpose. Now, there's no benefit.
Because they do infect each other's. They do influence, right?
Oh, for sure. So we cannot encourage people to live their lives in compartments anymore, right? And live their life in parts. So essential part of becoming an agile leader, be connected and comfortable with the human side.
Right? I love that.
Right? Like for instance, we know that soft skills, emotional intelligence is highly important for all leaders. In fact, the more senior they are, EQ becomes 3 times more important than IQ, right? This is coming from the work of Daniel Goleman, the father of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
But a lot of leaders that I have come across, they are not comfortable with dealing with human emotions.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think is that?
I think in our system, we have just not been exposed to so-called the dark side, the darker side of human emotions, right? It's like
even though that it's not the darker side, but
even though it's not the darker side, dark or light, I think it's all subjective. It's like, you look at the situations where people cringe when they have to give feedback, when they have to give critical feedback. People usually cringe, right? When I have to share that I don't know how to solve this problem, like, really leading with vulnerability. These two are the ones that pop up the most. And why are people uncomfortable with it? Because as a human being, all we have been trained is to show our strong side, like the good side. And we never gave voice to the darker or the weaker side. But are those parts humans? For sure.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and in the VUCA world now, you can't go on and say that I know everything. I know the solution to every problem, because that's not possible.
Yeah, no one is perfect, right?
Exactly. And the essential part of being an agile leader is to acknowledge that I am a work in progress for all my life. So which means that feedback is extremely important. So I think the most essential part is to bring the whole human back into the workplace, be it for yourself and for others.
Yes, I love that, because the world is very different than it used to be, and we understand it now much better than we did, let's say, 30 years ago or 40 years ago or something like that. And there are different kind of needs, and the understanding is so different. So the humanity is spoken in every stage, let's say, let's put it that way nowadays. And even I think I read it from Forbes magazine a couple of weeks ago about the IQ that you mentioned, that it should be there much more in the teams, within the leadership, and just every daily activities. Because like you said, we are working together, and we are, as humans, we are work in progress.
Yeah.
And we should have the curve there to go forward. And that's the only way, as I understood from your words so far, the agile leader has this learning curve and develops all the time and gets the feedback from others. So how does a person can amplify this agile leadership to success? And what does this mean to you?
So how to amplify your
agile mindset?
Your mindset. How to amplify? I think, in my book, there's a coaching model, RE4 coaching model, where you redo something at 4 different stages. The first one is reconstruct the map, and to me, that is the most important part of amplifying the agile mindset. How we change course, how we correct our own behavior, it all depends on our perception of reality. So reconstruct the map. Yeah, so reconstruct the map talks about, is your perception of truth correct? Is how true is your truth? How real is your truth?
Who tells the truth? Is it your truth or my truth or the other person's truth?
Exactly.
All of these are existing.
Correct. And they're all 100% true coming from different lenses, right?
That's
the more accurate we can be in deciphering what real is, the truth is, the more likely we can adjust our actions, our thoughts, our everything, to be relevant and to be useful in a context. One of the sayings is that this is not new. Like they say, leadership is contextual. So your level of truth your behavior depends on what is the context, right? So
exactly.
that one is very important. I think a lot of the clients I work with, many times they will realize that the perception of truth is not real enough. That's why they have been trying to push things from a different direction where that one wasn't a problem anyway. So they need to change their approach. So I think reconstructing the map is very important. If we train ourselves to always challenge our own assumptions, question our own thinking, like I came up with this conclusion, how did I come up with that? How do I know that it is valid? If we ask ourselves these questions, we are constantly reconstructing the map, which that helps to amplify the agile mindset much, much quicker.
That's great. That's great. And that's it sounds very easy to do, but I'm sure that it's not. And I can tell that from my own experience as well, that reconstructing my map and my thinking, and even if you can do it in a thinking way, how can you put that into the daily actions? And that's the tricky part. That's where you need to have the practice and repetition to do that and to change that. So how can a leader resolve all his or her paradoxes? You mentioned something, but something else what you could maybe share.
Right. So paradoxes, think of it as something that gets you stuck. So it doesn't have to be the 8 that's in the book. It can be anything. And that's where I think that the journal comes in as well. First, I think awareness of what a paradox is, because in leadership, we can't say this way is correct, that way is wrong. Things are not so dichotomous, right? It's not black and white, right or wrong that way. So I think identifying what the paradox is about, that's the first way. That's step 1. Really reconstruct the map. Then use the 5 inner voices to check through which lens is causing an issue now. Right. Is my understanding of something not right? Am I not leveraging a certain voice enough? And then work from there. These 2 things are always interacting. There is a feeling of being stuck, and then there is the inner voices coming in to challenge how you will diagnose the issue, and then how you will then respond to correct the problem and get that sense of ease and authenticity back.
Oh, that's good, because that is what I've learned, that when you think something, but when you put it to the a next level, you write it down where you can see it. You can also feel it in a way. You can feel it when you're writing it down.
Yes.
So it is much more there for you, and then you have different ways of looking at the paradox and the thing what you are going through, and maybe it might give you then some insights how to go forward.
That's right. Because the 5 inner voices are metaphors, so you use the metaphors to draw out more of the whatever is in your subconscious mind. And it will usually point you in a certain direction that maybe I need to explore this bit a little bit more.
Exactly. So the journaling is a really good way to have the self-reflection and building the awareness and seeing actually what you think and why you think it that way, and what could be the result. So there's another good gem for a leader. If you don't do the journaling, just start doing it now.
I think it's part of the empty, giving us that white space to reflect. Nowadays, we are running way too fast. So the danger is if you run in a wrong direction, by the time you realize it is wrong, that's that length, that distance that you need to backtrack.
That's right.
It's a waste of time, waste of effort. So I think really being conscious, living in the moment, be mindful, intentional about where you want to go and how you want to get there.
and reflect that and take the time, like you said, to pause things and write it down and just see what's going on and how you're reacting that and how you're responding. And then just, looking at, are you staying in the course? Like the ship is sailing, that it doesn't hit the rock on it.
Correct.
Can anyone become an agile leader? It sounds like it, but how, from your experience, how do you see that?
Right. Definitely you can. You just need to be open enough. I think the danger is when a leader thinks that he or she is very self-aware and that leadership is a destination, not a journey. I think those are the mindset that stops people from learning, growing, and becoming more agile.
Okay.
You see in the workplace where perhaps they have not realized that the workforce has changed, right? Or they have not accepted that the way business is done, the organization is being run, has to change. They're still stuck to the old ways because maybe that mindset is that I reached this position
and I want to hold it really tight, that this is my right.
Correct. So that actually stops them from being agile. So I want to say, bring in Carol Dweck's work, right? We talk about growth mindset. Very important. I think that's the precursor for anybody in leadership position. And if I stretch that further into the agile mindset, because not only am I very open to learning, I'm also very responsive to what the ecosystem needs from me. So I think that's the added layer of adaptiveness. So that's everybody can be, but the growth mindset is the precursor. Then we go into the agile mindset. So if we see leadership as a journey, success as a constantly progressing, life, what I call that, the definition of success will always change throughout our life, right? And that constant growth, constant change is the only constant, is the only unchanging fact, then it's much easier to be agile.
Oh, so you're so right. There's so much to learn, so much to do, but if you, as I understood correct, I think it starts with the positive mindset, the open mindset, and being able to really grow and understand it's a journey, not a destination, right?
Yes.
The whole life itself is a journey. And when you were a child, you had different success thoughts. And now as a leader, who has been working maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years in different positions and seen the world in different ways, you have different definition of the success. Yes. So it is a journey, and it should add up.
It should. Yeah, I really like this paradox in my book. The principled versus adaptable.
Yeah.
I can
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I can stick to my principles of being successful. For example, I want to be excellent. For example, that's my principle, right? I can do it in a very stiff and stubborn way. This is the way I'm going to be excellent. I'm going to work very hard. I'm going to push people, etc. Right? Or I can achieve excellence in a very adaptable way. Right? I can look at my calibration of what success means. I can look at what does excellence mean in people's eyes, and what is the fastest way for me to become excellent in what I do. So you can be living the principles, but you can be adaptable. So it's a very flexible and soft way of approaching things instead of rigid and stiff.
That's right. And I understand also from your words that it is about serving others and how you can influence for the greater good. When you play your part, then the whole ecosystem or the community, locally or globally, is getting better results. And when everybody is adding their own pieces or skills or whatever that is. So need to kind of be open to be an agile leader, be open to serve that and change your success and change the whole ecosystem success according to the situations what are occurring today, and it might be something else tomorrow. But how do you think that you talked about the adaptability and things like that? How is this agile leadership then executed? You have been mentioning some of those things already, but how would you say that in terms of a leader and an organization or between different teams, how can this agile leadership be executed? Because I think that's the because I think that's the trickiest part, and that's where all leaders are like having the problems. So how do I actually do this? How can I influence others? Or how can I, if I can change my habits or traits, but how can I do it so that it drives the whole organization to the desired result?
I think knowing yourself first is really important. So that's where, going back to the 5 inner voices, I always start with the captain. I always use Gallup Clifton strengths because I believe in the strength development approach. So going back to fundamentals, who are you? What is motivating to you? What's your superpower? What are the things within your control? And, where are the areas where you need support and partnership from others? Master yourself, be self-aware so that you can be others aware. And that nicely then follows up with the rest of the inner voices, because then with that lens of I know what I can do, I know what I can't do, then it goes on to help you develop other people, right? To look out for talent in your own team, to look for partners, build synergy, and then you can achieve great results together. A lot of it hinges on the conversations that we have with people. As in, we are all leading our separate lives, but we are working together for a certain period of our lifetimes, but we want to achieve something that is of value to the organization and to the individuals, right? So, and that a lot depends on the kind of talent and the strength that you have innately as well. And then how do you bring out the best in each of them? When you say how do you practice agile leadership, so I think driven by conversations, know what you want, know what others want, and try to co-create that in that space so that it's a win-win, it's a mutually beneficial relationship all the time. Right? And when things are not working, talk about it and make adjustments, continue to add value to one another. I think that is the best way to become an agile leader, and really practice, walk, live, and breathe it.
So, in one word, humanity. That the be yourself and talk, communicate.
Yes.
I think, like you said at the beginning, many leaders, especially in the past, they didn't bring the humanity, the communication, the feelings, the empathy, and the human things that happen in all of our lives, no matter what position we are. So those need to be brought to the table and then work it together, find the best solutions. My strength is this and your strength is that, and then someone else is doing very good at this, and how we can work together to find the puzzle and the right pieces over there. And then
I really like this metaphor, the puzzle. It's like we are flexible enough to change the way we can fit together. Right? And then in the ecosystem, as we interact with one another, we are always finding pieces that match us. Right? And we can create all kinds of different imagery with all the different pieces coming together.
And when you, like you said earlier, that when you think of the life and the leadership and the company itself also as a growth curve, and you being open and adaptable to different things, different people, different situations, then you can, shape the puzzle and created whatever forms or colors you wish to have it. And
yes,
I think it's then only possible if you grow and be minded, like you said, and reflect the things, what's going on in yourself and outside world. So you have mentioned these inner voices, and we talk about those, but then you also have 5 R's. What are those, and how can they help agile leader and in his or her role and the commitment?
Sure. Now, the 5R is a model for leaders to create learning experiences within their organization.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, if they are using the inner voice of the developer or the strategist, I think it comes in quite handy in these 2 voices. How do you set up your learning tasks? I can look at your work tasks as learning tasks.
Yeah.
How do you make it relevant to the person? Right? How do you make the pain point or the problem to be solved relatable? How do you help people gain new perspectives and learn from whatever experience they have had and turn it into an insight that is refreshing? And then how do you repeat this learning with other people? Because you want every experience an employee has to be a stretch opportunity. So I use the 5 R's to create learning experiences for clients in the workshops that I run, in the little masterminds or the group coaching that I do. Part of being a leader is, an agile leader is, we really need to embrace this part about helping people learn and grow. So it's almost like wearing a teacher's hat sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no longer just about let's reach the results and the KPI. You have to look at how do you help people learn, grow. And this is just one of the frameworks that I think is useful for others to start wearing the teacher or the facilitator hat in the workplace.
That's good, because as a leader, you kind of, what I've understood is, and one definition for a leader is to co-create the coordinated movements. And that's the only way of achieving that and succeeding is in that is to do that together with the others. And when you work with them in an open way and you are being the facilitator, like opening the possibilities for others to grow and go forward, then I think you can go really forward and succeed as a company and as a leader. So how can a leader invite new and different perspectives?
Invite different perspectives?
Yeah.
I think having conversations that comes from a relationship built on trust. I think trust, psychological safety, very important. I want to be able to ask for feedback, suggestions, for people to come up with, courageous ideas that have never been implemented before, to share what's really on their minds and share what's really important to them. I think we don't have enough direct communication in the workplace. That's why that's where most of the workplace conflict come about.
I agree. Yeah.
So I think that one is really important. And then that also links to the reconstruct the map, right?
That's right. Yes. You cannot reconstruct that.
Right. If you don't have the right information, you can't reconstruct the map.
That's so right. That's so right. So I think that you just answered to my next question, that what is and why is it essential for a company or any organization to have these kind of agile leaders, and there it just came. I think you just answered to that one. So maybe if we are going towards the end of this discussion, so how do you think that being such a high performing agile leader, how does it affect the ability of the companies to achieve those goals? You talk about this already many, many times, but if there's something that, for the sake of keeping the company in business, stay in business, and the leader plays a huge role in that.
Sure.
And if you're an agile leader, I think you have, by this conversation, the understanding that you have better rate to succeed in that. But
yeah,
what could be there's based on your experiences, the ways to affect staying in the business and running the company?
Sure. So there's a global talent crunch, right? You know, talented people, good people, everybody wants them.
Yeah.
So I think to me, the corporate longevity depends on whether you can retain your talents. And then the question is, what do the talents want in their workplace from their leaders? The shift now is towards embrace the human, the whole human in the workplace, right? No, much lesser about me as a manager. These are my KPIs for you, and your role is to strive for it. And I don't really care what you think. You know, that kind of style doesn't work anymore. So if you then tailor your style to meet the needs of the talent, that in essence will be agile leader, then you will have higher talent retention, higher employee engagement, which then ensures that you will be able to keep your business, your company in business for a long time, because you always have a healthy pipeline of talents who are willing to contribute and reach your goals together.
I love that, because then it all comes down to again to the communication and being human and being authentic to yourself. But what would be the ways and where a leader can get help in these kind of things?
I think whatever instrument we choose or whatever methodology we pick, I think just stick to one and get really good in it. I find that nowadays there's so many, right? We have an information explosion. We have so many.
It's hard to find. That's what I was thinking. That what would you be your suggestions to go to the right places to find this kind of help and information?
Yeah, so I think just stick to one, right? Follow one and just do it really well. Like for example, when I help leaders strengthen the captain, I always use Gallup Clifton strengths, right? Because I've seen how it could work. I just go deep into it. There are many strengths assessments out there. There are many kinds of leadership assessments out there as well. Just stick to one. So of course, my encouragement is for leaders, listeners today, go explore the 5 inner voices, right? And you just get good in each one of them, one at a time. Important thing is, how do you eat the elephant? You eat the elephant one bite at a time.
I love that metaphor. It works every time.
Important. Yeah, otherwise we get overwhelmed because it's a lifelong journey, right? Remember, we are always work in progress.
Yes.
So much that we could learn, grow, explore, discover. And we need to take bite-sized small actions to get better incrementally, right? So it's really, really compounding the effect of tiny little actions. So I think the 5 inner voices that I've created, this is one way. Use the Agile Leaders Journal, go through it for 12 weeks, for 24 weeks. Just pick one action at a time. And these actions are not difficult to perform,
but they have a huge effect.
Yes, huge effect. It's always just a slight nuancing of how I'm positioning myself and how I'm showing up as a leader that creates the biggest impact on your employees and your teams. So I think just pick one.
I like that. So in other words, keep it simple. Take one at a time and eat the elephant one piece at a time, and don't worry about the rest. So it is eaten at this point, right?
Right.
Okay. A couple of last questions to close this. What is essential for an agile leader to understand during the process of becoming an effective leader?
I think it's important to understand that, well, coming back to the voice of the agilist.
Yeah.
Many of us have this fear of failure, or we try something and it doesn't work 100%, right? So the appetite for failure, I think we need to increase it. So if you then use the inner voice of the agilist to see as, okay, this is one way I'm going to do it. I've done my due diligence, collecting feedback now. Whichever way the outcome is, I can accept it. Because making mistakes is an essential part of becoming an agile leader. You wouldn't know whether this strategy or this little action will work until you try it.
Exactly.
right? Yes, and you need that feedback immediately from the system. But if I'm not open to getting feedback, then I'm not an agilist, right? If I'm not setting up small experiments for me to put myself out there and just to be open to being critiqued or evaluated or judged, right? There will be people who will judge you, right? Either way.
Of course, there will be always, no one is like you, and no one never likes the way you do, and you never like the way that other people do always. So that's just life.
Yeah.
I like that. So you just take it step by step and think of it as a learning curve, as a journey that you.
Yes. So being an agilist is essential. I feel you need to make mistakes. You will have some not so great moments, but these are not failures. These are just different ways of doing things. Yeah, it's part of the process. And if we skip that, we can't grow. So I think that goes back really nicely to your initial comments, right? When I said the first thing I hope I had learned sooner as a younger person was to define my measurement of success, right? Would I have reached would I have become who I am without that initial painful few years? Probably not. So making mistakes, going through the grind, suffering some pain here and there is normal.
Yeah, and learn from those, like you said.
Yes.
Whatever comes, learn the good, if it comes, and when the sad things, the painful things comes, learn from each one of those, and then adjust that to the current situation, what is coming. Is that how you can do the breakthrough to the next level?
Well, we can be open to mistakes, but my personal mantra is don't make the same mistake twice.
I like that. I am the same, but and then I find myself doing the same kind of mistake, but from different angles. So it's not the same mistake. If you do it in different, you end up being in this kind of similar situation, but you came there with different decisions or something. So it's not the same then, right?
That's why working with the coach, I think, is really important. You need a neutral third party who truly wants you to succeed, to pick out the patterns for you, right? Because these are something it's just different when you try to do it on your own. I mean, the time's
harder that way. It is. And
it is.
You may not notice all the things that you need to notice, right?
Correct. So the coaches, I think the greatest value is that they are noticing something about you, right? And bring it to your attention. That prevents additional unnecessary mistakes. Right?
Exactly. And then you wouldn't do the same mistake from different angles. And then, okay, now I've done it twice. But different sides, so okay, not a third time. That's right. Okay, so then one last question. What are your personal productivity tips for our listeners?
I advocate this thing called white space. This is coming from my previous professional life. We practice this thing called white space, where you leave some empty space in your days to just be with your thoughts, to consolidate your day's learning happenings. I think that's where we can be really productive. Productivity is not about how busy I am. I think productivity is about how intentional I am.
Oh, I like that.
I can't be intentional unless I am fully aware of what I want to achieve and what's the best way for me to achieve it. So white space becomes really important. So that's something I am constantly on the lookout for. The more senior you are, the more you need the white space.
Why is that?
Because so many things we need to be concerned about, right? So I think it's helping you to zoom out and stand at a higher strategic ground and look at where are the pieces I really need to move to get to the goal as quickly as possible in the most efficient possible way. And you can't see the patterns unless you pause and look at things at a higher view.
Exactly. Unless you don't reflect on the things, what's going on.
Yes, exactly.
Thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's where the coaching comes in really great as well for busy leaders to consolidate their thoughts. It's never about a case about effort, hard work, intelligence. It's just how intentional I am.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. So I wish to thank you so much for this conversation. I think there has been a lot of different gems and insights and practical tips for any leader to be the best one. And I think the best leadership can be, reached by being the agile leader. But where can people find you? How they find you if they want to learn more about you or the agile leadership, or how you teach them, how you coach them?
Sure. I'm very active on LinkedIn. That's how two of us connected. So just find.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's where we connected at the first place.
Yeah. There's only one Chuen Chuen Yeo in the universe, I think. So
So there you are. You're one and only here. Chuen Chuen. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's great. Yeah. So LinkedIn is a good
best place. Yeah, it's the best place. Yes.
And tell our listeners again your company name as well.
Right. ACESENCE, Agile Leadership Coaching and Training. So ACESENCE as the ACESENCE. So you can also find me at acesence.com.
Yes. I think that's very, very good. Well, so I humbly want to thank you, Chuen Chuen Yeo, about being here as my guest speaker and to sharing your expertise with the listeners, because I think there is amazing gems, truly, for anyone to point out, pitch out and point out and put it into your daily routines and just work on those ones. So thank you very much for coming and teaching us all of these valuable tips and activities that you have experienced and you see, and about the mindset and transforming one's life to the next level. And to any listener, really, to grab these things and take it and include them into your life. So humble thanks and with very kind words. Thank you so much, Chuen Chuen. And for the listeners, until the next time, channeling business forward. Thank you so much for being here with us today.